Hi everyone, welcome to iFashy. Today we'll be dropping the sewing part of this tutorial. We already taught us how we drafted this dress in our last tutorial. If you haven't seen the part 1, the link will be in the description box. So what we're doing today is to take us through the process of how we cut on fabric to how we put all the pieces together to achieve this beautiful dress. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please support us by clicking that subscribe button and also share and like this video so that it will be recommended to others who will be needing this tutorial. In the last drafting tutorial, we showed us that this Duchess fabric that we'll be using is a 3 yards fabric. So as you can see on your screen, I've gone ahead to place it on top of my table, but it is not on fold. That's because we cut our pattern paper on fold. So I'll be opening it up to place on the fabric to cut out the front. After cutting out the front, I'll also cut the back of the skirt. The back is very straightforward. All we need to do is just to add our zipper allowance and the sewing allowance to the side. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and teach us how to cut this front so that we will know how to achieve the gathers we have at the front. So the first thing we're going to do now is to open up the slash we marked out on our paper. We're going to be slashing and spreading this front pattern to be able to achieve that gathers we have on the front part of the skirt. So after tearing it open, you're going to go ahead and spread it on top of the fabric and pin it down. Secure it down with a pin so that it doesn't start moving. And take note that the number of spread you have will determine the number of gathers you're going to have on the dress. Also, when you're slashing the pattern paper, make sure not to slash till the end because the end, one side of the skirt still remains intact. The spread happens on one side of the hip. So after spreading out the paper now, I'm going to go ahead and add the sewing allowance all around the sides and then I'll cut. Before cutting, endeavor to place your measurement tape from the beginning of your skirt to the down part of the skirt to determine if you're okay with the length. Now remember, the side that has the slash will be longer on the upper parts only. This is because by the time you gather it up, it will come back to be the same length with the other side. Where you need to focus is from the knee side downwards, right? Remember the slash and spread stops at the hip. So you're going to place your tape on the knee and take it down to the full length. Make sure the both sides align. Because if you measure the weight from the waist down, the side that has the slash will definitely be longer than the other side that doesn't have. That's because we opened up that part. So now, because this dress is longer than the knee, I'm going to place my tape downwards from the knee to determine what I have from that knee down, to be sure that it's the same on the both sides of the knee. After you've made sure that you're okay with the length, you're going to go ahead and cut out. After cutting out, remember to notch the hip part of this other side that has the slash and spread so that when you're gathering it, you know where to stop. Now, this is what we have after cutting out this front. As you can see, we added allowances to the side, the two sides, the upper parts that we'll be using to join it to the top, and then the down parts as well. Now, I also notched the hip line of the skirt because that's the point I'll stop for the gathers. Now, for the full length I was talking about earlier, when you place your tape on the knee line, make sure from that part downwards is equal. The only part that is not equal is the upper part that we're going to gather, okay? Now, this is what we have for the front. I've also gone ahead to cut out the back piece and the upper piece off camera because that one is just to place our pattern paper on top of the fabric and cut. There's no slash and spread. Now, for the back of the skirt, this is what we have. Remember, in the drafting video, one side of the skirt came out longer than the other side of the skirt and we joined it to one side, right? This is what we have here. I've also added the same length I have from the knee line downwards for the front pattern. I added it to the back, and then I also added my zipper allowance to the center backs. Okay, now I'm going to remove the pattern paper now and then join this back piece. Now for this back piece, I'm going to place the two right sides facing each other and pin it down from the waist down to the end of my zipper allowance, which is the 10 inches where my zipper will stop on the dress. I'll mark that point and then I'll mark down the allowance where I'll be stitching through. Then I'll take it to the sewing machine now and make this stitch so that the back piece will come out to be 1. Now this is what we have after joining the two back piece of the skirt together on the zipper allowance. I'm going to go ahead and iron it so that all these squeezes will go off. As for the upper part, I did not stitch that place because that's where our zipper will be fixed. So I'll keep it aside now and introduce the front. Now this is the front we just cut, right? I'm going to go ahead and remove the pins and pattern paper, and then I'll fold it at the upper part up to the hip where the pleating will stop. To achieve these gathers we have on the front, I'll just go ahead and pick the fabric from the waist side downwards. I'll start picking it 1/2 inch and then I'll pin down to achieve that pleat. You just go ahead and do this up until the notched part on the hip line where the pleat is going to stop. After pleating it and you've seen how pleated it looks and you're okay with that, the first thing you do after pleating it together like this is to place your tape on top of the dress and confirm your measurements. Check if the length of the skirt part of the dress is still the same with what you measured when you were cutting. Well, at this point, none is supposed to be longer than the other because we've already pleated the longer side. You iron it and make a stitch on the sides, especially this side that you just pleated. You hold it down with a stitch so that you can now confidently remove your pins. After that stitch, when you remove your pins, the pleat will stay intact. The next place I'm going to pleat now is the other side of the skirt. And after that, you're going to go ahead and iron it. I lost some clip in the process of recording this part. So what I just did, after this pleat, I went ahead and ironed. When I was okay with the pleat, I just ironed it so that the pleat will stay intact, right? And then after ironing, I placed the back that we've joined together already. Remember, the back is now one piece after joining the zipper allowance, right? I placed it right sides facing each other on top of this front, and I joined the two sides together. That's the clip that I lost. Don't be confused. The only thing I did after ironing this pleat was to place the back piece that we've already joined, placed it on top of this front, and I joined it on the two sides and I ironed. So this is what we have now. The back has been joined to the front, and all of the seams, I opened it up to iron. That's what you're seeing here. So at this point, we have one piece of the skirt, which is the back and front, joined together on the sides. Remember, when we were drafting, it's only one side that have a full joining. The second side, the joining stopped halfway because it has a slit. In the drafting video, you remember that this slit came towards the front, which is why we joined one paper from the front to one side of the back. So this is why we have this slit here. Here's the pattern paper. Remember, we took this small piece from the front to add to this back to be able to achieve this slant that came forward. You can go back to the drafting video if you don't understand how we achieved this. So now that we're done with this skirt part, we're going to keep it aside and start working on the upper part. When we finish with the upper part, we'll now join it to this skirt and attach the zipper. For now, let's keep this aside and introduce the pieces for the upper part. Now here are our pieces for the upper part of this dress. Remember, in the drafting video, we drafted everything out on fold. So all parts of our back and front are all here present. We've gone ahead to add our sewing allowance all around the pattern paper when we were cutting. The only part that doesn't have the seam allowance is this part where the zipper will be fixed. We've already added zipper allowance. Also, I've gone ahead to cut the lining. I'm using the same fabric for the lining of this upper part. Then what I'll just go ahead and do now is to pin them together the way I'm going to be stitching them on the sewing machine. So you place them right sides facing each other, the two side back on the left face each other and pin it, and the two side back on the right face each other and pin it. The same thing, we'll do the same thing with the lining and the front. For the front, these are our pieces. We have the center front open as just one, okay? And then we have the two side fronts. Remember, the reason we folded all of these things in the drafting video is because the neckline is asymmetric. One side came downwards, right? So what I'm going to do now is to also pin these front parts together, the two side fronts, pin them to the center front, the way we're going to be stitching them on the sewing machine. I'll do this pinning on both the lining and the main fabric. I'll take all these pieces, both the front and back that we just pinned, I'll take them to the sewing machine and join them together, and I'll be right back to show us what we have, and then we'll go ahead and iron. So this is what we have after joining the pieces together. We have the front and the back piece, and we have the lining for both of them as well. So what we're going to do next is to iron it first, then we'll place the linings on top of them to turn the neckline first, right? This back has been ironed. As you can see, the seams are open. So I'm placing it right sides facing each other, and I'm pinning the neckline only, because that's where we're going to stitch. As for the front part, I've also ironed it. Remember to use your bust ham when you are ironing this front so that the bust curve will not flatten, okay? So we're going to go ahead and place the two fronts facing each other now. Remember, when you're cutting the lining of an asymmetric neckline, you're going to have to place the fabric together and cut. If you cut them separately, there's chances that you're going to make mistake and the two sides might not align, okay? Now, this is what we have after turning the neck with the lining. Remember to top stitch on the lining part when you finish stitching the first time. Now, also, anywhere you have a curve, you go ahead and notch it so that when you iron it, it will lay very flat as it should be. Now, what I'm doing here is to iron all of the necklines that I just joined. This is the back. We'll also do the same thing for the front. At this point, after ironing, we're going to go ahead and join the back to the front on the two sides before we fix. The only part that will be opened is our zipper allowance. We're also going to join our armhole and then turn the shoulder. Now, let's pause. I want to explain something to you. When you're turning this shoulder, this is the point where you attach the cape that is on the neckline of this dress. This is the point you attach that cape to the shoulder while you are joining the back to the front so that it will be hidden on the inside. My client doesn't want this cape, that's why I'm joining it here without the cape. But at the end of this video, I'm going to be draping the cape on top so that you see how it looks with and without the cape. But for those of us that want to attach that cape, please, when you're joining the shoulder at this point, this is where you attach that cape to the shoulder part. So this is what we have after joining the shoulders and the armhole. We've gone ahead to close both the shoulder and the armhole using the lining to turn both of them. So what is remaining now is to close the two sides before we join it to the skirt part. Now let me open it up for you guys to see what happened. This is the wrong side of the top here. After closing the armhole of the back, I placed it inside the front and closed the shoulder. And after closing the shoulder, before I close the armhole of the front. That's what gave us what we have now. Now, there are two ways that you can join these sides. You place the right sides facing each other, the right side of the back piece and the right side of the front piece face each other like this, and you make a stitch straight down, making sure that the stitch on the arm on the sides are aligned. Then when you stitch it, when you open it up, the sides will be neat like this. All of the stitches will be hidden. But I'm not using that method, okay? I'll be weaving this one. So I'll place it right sides facing each other and then stitch it all the way down. But if you want to do the other method, it's completely fine. So I'll pin down my zipper allowance on the back, and then I'll go ahead and join the two sides. Before joining the two sides, remember to take your body measurement. Measure out the bust measurement on the bust part and then the waist measurement on the waist part. Then you mark it out and join. Whether you're doing the turning method or you're running a straight stitch down, make sure to take your measurements before you join it. So I'll go ahead and join it now, and I'll be right back to show us what we have. So after joining the two sides together, this is what we have. The upper part is now one piece altogether. The only opened part is the zipper. So I'm going to measure around this waist now to be sure I still have the waist circumference of my client plus the zipper allowance. And that's what I have. What we're going to do now is to open up the zipper allowance part and then introduce the zipper and the skirt part, which is the down part of the dress, okay? So we'll now go ahead and pin it together and join. Now remember, this is the skirt part. I'm going to fold it into two equally and notch the midpoint. After notching the midpoint, I'll also fold the top part and notch the midpoint of the front. So I'll now place those two notched parts together, right sides facing each other, and pin it down because that's how I'm going to stitch. So when you're stitching, make sure the joining you have on the side of the top aligns with the joining you have on the side of the skirt, so that after joining, your work will come out neat. Now this is what we have. I've joined the upper part to the down part. Now we have our dress together as one. This is what it looks on the inside, and then when you turn it to the right side, this is what we have. For this down part, I'm going to use my hemming gum to fold it in and iron so that the stitch we have on that slit part will not be outside, okay? The remaining thing now is to fix our zipper to this dress. Thank you so much for watching to this point. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Please support this channel by subscribing, and also you can use the link in our bio to join our membership so that you'll be able to request for tutorials. So I'll go ahead and fix the zipper on this dress now, and I'll be right back to show us what we have. Now this is what we have after fixing the zipper. What's remaining is just for me to iron and weave the inside of this dress. Like I said before, my client doesn't want the cape, and I promised I was going to show us how to achieve that if you're going to be attaching the cape. So I'll be using these pieces of fabric here. It's just a wide fabric that I cut. One side is smaller than the other. One side is 7 inches and the other side is 10 inches wide, okay? Now, when you place it on fold like this, the slimmer side is going to be the part that you attach on the shoulder. Remember I said the point you attach this is when you were joining the shoulder on the back, when you were joining the back and front shoulder together. So you attach this slimmer part to the shoulder, and then the back part will be attached towards the zipper allowance at the back. So what I'm going to do now is to take this to the mannequin and put it on the mannequin, and then I'll pin this cape on it so that you see how it looks if the cape was attached. So this is the dress on my mannequin. Please take note, this dress is smaller than the mannequin on the hip part. That's why the dress couldn't go down. So we're just going to ignore that down part and focus on this upper part where the cape will be attached. I've gone ahead to join these pieces for us to see. Now, like I mentioned before, this smaller part is the part that will be on the shoulder. So the point you would have joined that shoulder part together is when you'd have added this cape, okay? If you've added it there, what you just need to do is to create space for the second hand to enter, which means you're supposed to measure the client from one shoulder all the way to the zipper allowance on the back so that you know the allowance that you would give for this second shoulder part, the part that is resting on the second sleeve, okay? So after doing that, when you apply the measurement, mark it out, the back side will be attached towards the zip. At that zip point, when in fact, the zip is going to be fixed on top of this one that goes to the back. So as you can see on this back, this is how it's supposed to be. close to the zip so that you can still open and close your zipper. The reason you're supposed to take your measurement is so that the sleeve will be able to sit on the sleeve of the client without being too tight or being too loose. So this is how it's going to look if we were attaching the cape to the dress. But like I said earlier, we are not attaching the cape. The owner doesn't want that. So thank you so much for watching to this point. We've come to the end of this tutorial. Remember to like and share, and also let us know in the comment section what you'd like us to be making next. And I'll see you in the next one.